ഓടിയേറി ആവശ്യമില്ലാത്ത ആണിയൊക്കെ പറിച്ചോളാം. പോ.
ആവശ്യമുള്ളതാണ് ആവശ്യമില്ലാത്താണ് എങ്ങനെ തിരിച്ചറിയാൻ പറ്റും?
നീ പറിക്കുന്നൊക്കെ ആവശ്യമില്ലാത്തായിരിക്കും. പോയി പറയടാ. 2 ബെഡ്റൂം, പൂന്തോട്ടം, കാറ് കയറ്റിയിടാനുള്ള സ്ഥലം, ബാത്റൂം അറ്റാച്ച്ഡ്, AC, 150 രൂപ വാടക. വാ, പറ്റിയ സ്ഥലമുണ്ട്.
ഞാൻ ഓടിക്കും. ഞാനേ പോളിടെക്നിക്ക് പഠിച്ചതാ. യന്ത്രങ്ങളുടെ പ്രവർത്തന രീതി ഒന്നും താൻ എന്നെ പഠിപ്പിക്കണ്ട. അതിനാരെതിരെ എങ്ങനെ താൻ അങ്ങോട്ട് ഓടിച്ചോ. ഞാൻ ഓടിക്കാം. ബ്രേക്ക് എവിടെ? ഞാൻ ചവിട്ടിക്കോളാം.
Taking on Kirikesh into Lukaku. How on earth did Gagliardini miss that?
And I wholeheartedly congratulate him.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Sreekanth. Can you test your sound and video?
Hello, good evening, Deepak. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, all clear now.
All right. I hope you can see me as well.
Yes.
Okay.
A bit more light would be good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. This time sound is better, sir.
Good evening, Jayakumar. Good evening. Ajit.
Hi, then. Hi.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Nandakumar, sir.
Good evening, Jayasri.
Sir, the meeting, it is at 7 o'clock. Okay.
Thank you, Nanda, joining. Thank you for joining.
Oh, thank you. Unnikku പങ്കെടുക്കണ്ടേ? ഉണ്ണി പറഞ്ഞു മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ?
So has everyone joined? So we can begin.
Yeah, I think just waiting for Dr. Gigi.
Yes.
Good evening, Sadish.
Good evening.
I think we will start, Dr. Jayasri.
Yes, sir. Maybe principal will be joining in between.
Yeah,
Busy. He's at the Mascot Hotel now.
okay,
So he might be joining in between.
okay. So let's go ahead.
One and all. I'd like to welcome you all to the virtual inauguration of Civil Engineering Finishing Program, or the CEFP, which is aimed at helping our students in bridging the gap between curriculum and industry. We all quite well know that the classes we take at college wouldn't be sufficient for us to face the real civil engineering sector out there. So, our thoughtful seniors have come up with a way to help us out. Since this is solely an initiative by our alumni, we should be really thankful and grateful to them for helping us out. And I'm very sure that everyone who wishes to pursue this program will find it absolutely beneficial. Anyway, moving on, we are all here to take part in this inaugural session of the CEFP. So let's begin by seeking the Almighty's blessings with the prayer.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
Now, I would like to call upon Aditya to be giving the invitation for the welcome speech. Over to you, Aditya.
Good evening, once more. Let me start the inaugural session, inviting Dr. Vandana RK, S7 Civil Staff Advisor, for the welcome speech. Dr. Vandana RK graduated with her BTech degree from TKM College of Engineering, Kollam. She completed her master's from NIT Calicut on offshore structures. She completed her PhD from College of Engineering, Trivandrum. She is currently working as an assistant professor in the Department of Civil Engineering at CET. Once again, I invite you, ma'am, for the welcome speech.
Thank you, Aditya, for the nice words. Good evening, all. I am very pleased to be here today for the inauguration of Civil Engineering Finishing Program, jointly organized by CETAA and the Department of Civil Engineering, CET. CFP is a new endeavor planned to bridge the curriculum gap with the industry. The driving force behind this program is a group of very successful alumni members of various batches of Civil Engineering Department. Their goodwill, insights, and friendship have made this program a reality. Our beloved principal, Dr. Gigi CV, is the backbone of all our activities in the college. Sir, your guidance and support prove that you are a great leader. With a thankful heart, we welcome you, sir, to this function. Today, with us, we have such an inspiring personality, Dr. Jayakumar. Sir, Jayakumar sir is a managing director and CEO of Vizhinjam International Seaport Limited. With 3 decades of experience in planning, design, and management of ports and harbor projects in India and abroad, his service to the nation building as CEO of Vizhinjam Seaport is outstanding, and we are very fortunate to have him with us this evening as the chief guest. We extend a great welcome to you, sir. It's my turn.
Ma'am, you're unmuted. Can you please unmute?
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. It's my turn to extend a gracious welcome to Mr. Sreekanth APV. He is the Executive Director, Arcadis Asia, and heads its infrastructure business in Singapore. He started his career with National Dairy Development Board as a project manager for India's largest dairy plant at Amul. On this great evening, we welcome you, dear sir. I am very much pleased to welcome our dear HOD, Dr. Mini Soman. Ma'am, it's a sense of commitment which creates an platform for us to grow and function to our full capacity. With a thankful heart, we welcome you, dear ma'am.
Thank you, Vandana.
Next, I like this opportunity. May I take this opportunity to honor and welcome the team behind CEFP. Without their involvement and dedication, this program would not have been possible. Dr. P.K. Jayashree, she is currently the Secretary of CETAA, the Senior Professor of CET, a well-known researcher with national and international acclaim, and a beloved teacher. And our dearest and most respected alumni members, Mr. A.R. Suresh Kumar, 1988 batch Mechanical Engineering, Mr. Sadish Kumar, 1985 batch Mechanical Engineering, Mr. Abu S, 1987 batch Civil Engineering, Mr. Rudra Kumar, 1987 batch Civil Engineering, Mr. Unni Bhaskar, 1988 batch Civil Engineering, Mr. Ajit Kumar, 1988 batch Civil Engineering, Mr. Sreekanth APV, 1992 batch Civil Engineering, Mr. Sibu Matthew, 1994 batch Civil Engineering, Mrs. Asha VL, 1999 batch Civil Engineering, Mr. Tenny Isaac, 2004 batch Civil Engineering, and Mr. Deepak Benny, 2007 batch Civil Engineering. With your fresh thoughts and optimistic approaches, we are sure that CFP is in good hands. I heartily welcome you all to this function. Now it's my turn to extend a grand welcome to our dear participants. When we launched our promo video, the responses received from the students were overwhelming. I'm sure the program will be profitable and fruitful for every participant. I heartily welcome you all to this function. I warmly welcome all of you who have gathered here to the inaugural function of Civil Engineering Finishing Program. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving us such a grand and detailed and very warm welcome. Next, I would like to call upon Rahul. Over to you, Rahul.
Okay, good evening all. Now, let me cordially invite Dr. Jayashree PK, Secretary of CETA and Professor of Civil Engineering Department CET, for speaking about objectives of finishing program. Dr. Jayashree PK graduated with BTech degree from CET in year 1995 and has also done her master's in geotechnical engineering from CET. She has done her PhD from CUSAT in the year 2008 and has obtained postdoctoral fellowship from IIT Madras in 2010. Once again, I invite you, ma'am, for speaking about objectives of finishing program. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Rahul, for those nice words. Respected Principal Gigi sir, CEO Vizhinjam Seaport, Jayakumar sir, Sreekanth sir, Professor and Head, Department of Civil Engineering, Mini ma'am, esteemed alumni of CET who are present here, all my colleagues who have come to join us, and my dear student friends. This moment is actually a dream come true for me. It was in fact a year before when our principal asked me a question, like when I visited him at his office, he asked me, faculty members of civil engineering have strong network around the globe, but still the placements in the civil engineering department is absolutely zero. Why are you not doing anything for the benefit of your students? This is the question he asked me. This question was pondering in my mind for the last 1 year, and it was then CET became serious on the NIRF ranking process. Principal began his work by having meetings with faculty members, students, and alumni to improve the ranking position of CET. Thus, as Secretary of CETA, I began supporting him in various such meetings. And in one such meetings, I came across എന്താ പറയുക രണ്ട് ദൈവദൂതന്മാരെന്ന് പറയാം I would like to call them so. I met Suresh Kumar AR sir, alumnus of 1988 mechanical batch, and Satish Kumar sir, former chairman of CET and an alumnus of 1985 batch. Suresh Kumar sir is the vice president of Voltas, and he is based in Dubai. Both of them are based in Dubai, and they have an aim like improving the placements of non-circuit branches of CET, that too in the core sector. And thus, with this motive, they set up the HVAC finishing program in the mechanical department. It is their parent department. And they invited me to its launch function and explained to me the purpose of the program. And the main objective is that our students who come to CET, they are really bright. We get the cream of Kerala, but they are not industry ready, mainly because of the gap between the curriculum and the industry. So our students should be trained on what is actually happening in the field, and they should be made industry ready so that the industry starts hiring them directly from CET. And after talking to them, I liked this concept. And I asked them whether this can be done for civil engineering department too, when they started the same thing for EEE branch also. Then their answer was they want to get the contacts of civil engineers in the industry to start this program. It was then with the help of Professor Sindhu P of Civil Engineering Department and with a positive note from our HOD, I began contacting the alumni from our own department. Most of them responded very positively to my queries, and finally, with a number of brainstorming sessions by Mr. Abu S of 1987 Civil Engineering, Mr. Rudra Kumar, Mr. Unni Bhaskar, Mr. Ajit Kumar, Mr. APV Sreekanth, Mr. CB Matthew, Ms. Asha VL, Mr. Tenny Isaac, and Deepak Benny, all are alumni of our own department, and finally this day has come. I'm indeed happy for the efforts they have taken. They have got together many days, hours and hours, and finally this day, this moment has reached. They have planned a series of sessions, and finally the ultimate aim, I've been asked to talk about the objective of the program. The ultimate aim or the objective is nothing but make the students industry ready. Just to make them aware that what is happening in the industry, so that when they go out into the corporate sector outside CET, they become full-fledged engineers who can be directly hired by any industry. And right now I'm still waiting for that moment of hearing the news that the students of CET got placements in core civil engineering field. That is my ultimate aim. So with this, I'm winding my words, and I wish all the best to this program as well as to all the volunteers, student volunteers. I appreciate the works of the student volunteers and the alumni who are involved, and I wish all the best to all the people behind team CEFP. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing with us the tremendous effort put in to make this a reality. And next, I would like to call upon Faris. Over to you, Faris.
Faris, you are on mute.
You're on mute. Yeah. Faris, please unmute and talk.
Sorry. Good evening, one and all. I extend my gracious and inclusive welcome to Dr. Vinny Soman, Professor and Head of Civil Engineering Department. She pursued a bachelor's from CET in 1987. Subsequently, she earned a master's degree in structural engineering from CET. She completed her PhD from Kerala University in 2011. She has remained successful in delivering positive results, and she contributed her best efforts for the department. I take great honor in welcoming you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Faris. Respected Principal Dr. Gigi CV, respected guest of honor, Dr. Jayakumar, distinguished speakers of the day, Mr. Sreekanth APV, Mr. Deepak Benny, CETA Secretary, Dr. Jayashree, dear alumni, advisors, faculty members, and dear students. This is indeed a moment of joy and excitement when our dear alumni join hands through CETA to support the students of their alma mater for enhancing their career prospects. This initiative has become possible because of their love and affection for their alma mater, combined with the online environment created by the pandemic. And about our campus placements, it is a matter of fact that our campus placement has taken a downward course in the last few years. I have to admit that at present, our campus placement is limited to software jobs. Of course, our students are not interested in. But this was not the scenario some few years back. Many public sector undertakings like IOC, BPCL, and many private sectors like companies like Shobha Developers, L&T, Saint-Gobain, Shapurji Palonji used to regularly visit our campus and recruit our students. But almost all of them, they have recruited top students, but unfortunately they were not able to join, maybe for reasons of their own, like joining for higher studies or trying for government jobs or whatever it is. But ultimately, as a consequence of this, they stopped visiting our campus for campus recruitment. And now we have reached this situation. Now our alumni has come together to help us out in this situation, thanks to the efforts of CETA and its secretary, Dr. Jayashree. So my appeal to the students is to make best use of this opportunity. Your seniors did not get this opportunity, and whether your juniors, it will be extended to your juniors, it depends upon how serious you are about this program. You have already witnessed the dedication and enthusiasm of alumni towards this program. Even before the inauguration of the program itself, they have spent minimum 10 to 20 hours together, sitting with our students, grooming them for improving their presentation skills, communication skills, then even minute aspects of poster making, etc., etc. So, dear students, do keep in mind that they are officials sharing top positions in multinational companies across the globe, and they are sparing their precious, limited personal time for you. This is only because of out of their love and affection for their alma mater. A big thanks for all those involved behind this program, and the Department of Civil Engineering will ever remain grateful to you for this gesture. And I sincerely wish the students will reciprocate to this gesture by scaling great heights in their career, making all of us and CET proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Next, we have Arya to invite our principal onto this platform. Over to you, Arya.
A leader is one who light the path to the impossible and make those who follow to great heights. It is an injustice to proceed to the event without calling upon our wings of light, our pillar of strength, and our constant source of motivation. I welcome the man who doesn't need any introduction and known among all of us for his wisdom and the knowledge, our Honorable Principal, Dr. Gigi CV. After graduating from TKM in Electronics and Communication in 1988, he did his master's in Communication and Engineering from IIT Bombay in 1997 and PhD from Department of Electrical Engineering from IIT Bombay in 2007. The courage to make tough decisions and the compassion to listen to the need of others is an art Principal Dr. Gigi CV does not set out to be a leader, but become a special one by the equality of action and integrity of his intent. It is an honor to have a personality like you as our principal. With a thankful heart, I invite you, sir, to address the gathering.
Thank you, Arya, for the wonderful introduction. I don't know whether I deserve such a grand introduction or not. First of all, I'm very, very happy that there are 267 participants here. I'm very happy that I first of all congratulate the students, faculty, and our alumni who are behind this. Respected Head of Department, Dr. Mini Soman, respected Dr. Jayakumar, CEO of International Seaport, faculty members, distinguished speakers, members of our alumni, especially Sri Satish Kumar and Sri Suresh Kumar, and my dear students. A very good evening to all of you. Yeah. As I said, I'm very happy that there are 267 people attending this program. And another very important point I have not really said, whenever Sri Suresh and Sri Satish is there behind any such program, the strength actually goes beyond 100, 200, 300 and so on. Actually, I have observed this in several similar meetings. As Jayashree had pointed out that I asked this not just to Jayashree, but I was always asking the head of the department and also faculty members of civil engineering department regarding the placement. If you look at our civil engineering department, CET is very much proud of the civil engineering department. Our civil engineering department, because our civil engineering department is one of the biggest civil engineering departments in the country. And we have 64 faculty members in our civil engineering department. And IIT Chennai is also having the same number of faculty members. And we have faculty members and maximum number of PhD holders also in the civil engineering department. And our faculty members are specialized in almost all specializations in civil engineering department. And another attraction of our civil engineering department is that our consultants. Every year, we generate consultancy amount of nearly 2 crores or more than that. And mainly it is coming from the consultancy works of our civil engineering faculty members. And also, if you look at the sponsored projects, and most of our civil engineering, many of the civil engineering faculty members actually they have sponsored project from different agencies, whether it is a DST or KCST or ACT or KT or whatever. We have a lot of sponsored projects and from central and state governments acquired by our civil engineering faculty members. And as Jayashree correctly pointed out, our civil engineering faculty members are also having very good contact because of these consultancy sponsored projects. And many of them are actually educated from very reputed institutions also. So regarding the placement, our HOD said that in CET, I often say that the CET the placement is very good. It is almost 100%. That is what I often say. That is mainly for our computer science department, computer science students, or electronic students. Computer science and the placement is 100%. Or the students actually get good students, capable students actually they get placement 3 or 4 placements and so on. But core placements, mainly for mechanical students, civil students, electrical students, etc. Core company placements are very too less. But it's a fact that we need to improve upon the placement, our overall placement in CET. It is because of 2 reasons. Number one is our students, the best students come to CET and whatever be the branch you study, your ultimate aim is to get a good job. So whatever be the branch, whether it is civil or mechanical, I feel that it is our responsibility to see that being an institution having very, very great legacy and very strong alumni network, etc. It is our responsibility. Our means the faculty members' responsibility to see that our students get placed. So that is one thing. And another thing is we often talk about NARF ranking. Now our NARF ranking is 85th in the country. But an institution like ours, and as I often say, our strength is mainly for faculty, our students, our very capable students. We get the best students. And our faculty members, we have 300 faculty members, very highly qualified faculty members. And our infrastructure, the infrastructure that we have there is no comparison between our infrastructure and infrastructure in other engineering colleges. And our civil engineering department is having very huge infrastructure. And the fourth one is our alumni. So we have a very strong alumni network of 47,000 who are excelling. We are taking up very prestigious careers in different parts of the globe. So we have a very, very strong network. And but we are actually not properly leveraging their potential. But NARF actually we actually deserve a better rank. to get a better rank, to further improve our rank. So we need to improve upon our placement. One of the major parameters with which they measure the rank is our placement and higher education opportunities for students. So we need to improve our placement. If the placement is 100%, if the placement is improved mainly for civil engineering students, mechanical engineering students, definitely we will get a very good rank. And simultaneously, we need to improve upon our research outputs also in terms of publications, patents, etc. But we have the capacity to do that, and I'm sure that in the coming years, we will get a better rank, and our aim is to be in the first 30, in the first maybe the next 5 years or so. And we have all the capacity, and I'm sure that we will be able to achieve that. And now, because of this pandemic, everything is online, and there are a lot of online platforms with which we can always connect to everyone. And from the last July onwards, actually, we have a very strong CETAA network. You are very much aware of it. And from last July onwards, we are having very good networking with our alumni. And you must be knowing that the last semester, our alumni actually supplied laptops to 236 brand new laptops to 236 students, deserving students of CET. And we collected nearly 1 crore in just 1 or 2 weeks. So that is the strength of our. It is not just in giving money or scholarship or endowments. They are now taking a lot of their time and efforts to directly interact with our students to improve their capabilities. So, for example, they have instituted clubs like BBC club, clubs like communication club, then coding club, etc. And our alumni actually they are spending a lot of their time for our students, and all these are going very well. Our students are also very well interacting with our alumni, and this here also, and now I can see 260 people. I'm very happy that students are taking it very serious, and I would like to congratulate all the members of our alumni for this initiative. And I'm very much thankful to Sri Satish, Sri Suresh. They are always in the front for such activities, and they are spending a lot of their time for such activities. I'm very much thankful to them, and I'm sure this program, this type of finishing activities should be a continuous process. We should not stop after maybe 4 days or 5 days, but that should be a continuous process. One topic is over, and you have to go to some other topic. There is no difficulty in finding experts for us. There are several of our alumni you can find. So this type of program should be a continuous program, and I'm sure that these programs will definitely improve the placement opportunities in civil engineering departments, and thus thereby improving, so giving better opportunities for students, and also better visibility and better ranking for the institution. Once again, I'm very much thankful to all of you. Particularly, I should again thank Jayasri, our CETA secretary, who is the real person behind all this. I'm just maybe initiating something, but she is the person who is taking a lot of pain to interact with our alumni. She's doing a lot of work. I'm very much. I appreciate her for the hard efforts she's putting in, and that should continue, and I'm sure our efforts will be very much successful. And I once again thank you, and I wish all the best for the program. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir, and for motivating us so that we can become better and achieve higher standards. Next, I would like to invite Abhinav, who will be giving the invitation to our guest of honor. Over to you, Abhinav.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to everyone. It is my privilege to introduce our guest of honor, Dr. Jayakumar, the Managing Director and CEO of Vizhinjam International Seaport Limited. And he is an alumni of CET Civil Engineering Batch 1978 and topper of University of Kerala. He possesses an MTech and PhD both in ocean engineering from IIT Madras. Starting his career in Kerala Harbour Engineering Department, he has served the government of Kerala in various capacities. In view of his qualifications and experience in the maritime sector, he was appointed as Special Private Secretary to the Honorable Minister for Ports and Corporation. He has been an active member of various committees constituted at state and national levels and played a vital role in drafting port and maritime infrastructure policy for the government of Kerala. He has to credit numerous technical papers in national and international journals. It is our privilege to have you, sir, as our guest of honor. We thank you for this. Welcome, sir, and over to you.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Dr. Gigi, CV, Principal, College of Engineering, Tirunelveli. Dr. Mini Soman, HOD, Civil Engineering Department. Dr. Jayashree PK, Secretary, CETAA. Dr. Vandana, Staff Advisor. Is she there? I didn't see her. Speakers of various sessions. Then faculty members, alumni, and my dear students and friends participating in this program from various places. Good evening to all of you. See, this COVID-19 pandemic has forced us to confine to the monitors to participate in this type of programs, which has become the new normal now. Initially, when the outbreak happened in Wuhan, China, everyone thought it was China's problem. But nobody thinks that anymore now. The first country to be hit by COVID-19 is now the only one with a recovering economy and a re-emerging population. For the rest of the world, uncertainty still lingers on, and this is the only uncertainty now. So with this, at the outset, I would like to congratulate the CET Alumni Association and Civil Engineering Department, College of Engineering, Trivandrum, for a joint initiative to organize such a program for the upcoming civil engineering students, civil engineers, I would say. I'm delighted to at the opportunity given to me to inaugurate the program and deliver the inaugural address or keynote address, whatever you call it. And I'm all the more delighted to embrace the task assigned to me, being the alumnus of CET and as a civil engineer. As you all know, civil engineering is one of the second oldest professional degree in the field of engineering next to mechanical engineering. It was also known as military engineering in the past. And if you see some of the greatest popular monuments like the Taj Mahal, Eiffel Tower in Paris, Great Wall of China, Burj Khalifa, these are some of the best examples to prove how important and valuable is civil engineering, this branch of engineering is. So we all should be proud as civil engineers. Dear students, as civil engineers, you can work on any infrastructure project ranging from our simple roads and highways, expressways, construction and maintenance of buildings and factories to bridges, power stations, dams, waterways, airports, seaports, industrial units, manufacturing plants, and so on, which involve a gamut of specializations in civil engineering. The upcoming port at Vizhinjam, which I spearhead, is also an infrastructure project which involves specialized skills, a lot of civil engineering applications in planning, construction, and management and operation when the port is ready. It also requires the skills of other branches of engineering, like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, environmental engineering, and so on. Environmental IT, in fact. Unlike a land-based structure, you have a very predominant additional dynamic, highly dynamically varying parameter, which are the waves, which adds to the complexity in the design and construction of marine structures as part of the port. So quickly, I will request I think one of the students to show an animation just to see how the port looks like when it is fully operational by next year. I think somebody can play this animation, please. Okay, I hope you had a glimpse of how the port would look like when it is in operation. I think probably by next year end or the beginning of 2022, the port will be in operation. I'm not going to talk much on the technical side of it, but you would have, the students would have understood the various applications and the roles that civil engineering can play in the various phases of the port facilities and the various components that are involved in the port functions. So now civil engineers, now it's very clear that civil engineers are always in demand all over the world. In India too, construction industry is a fast growing and expanding market. And by the year 2030, that is 9 or 10 years from now, India is expected to be the third largest construction market globally by touching a figure of US $1 trillion. It's a significant growth projection. So you can realize a huge potential ahead of you. So therefore you need to choose the right career in the field of interest and hone up your skills to equip yourself to come up with ideas to better the process of design and construction in a highly competitive and rapidly changing environment. This is what I have to say. During our good old days at CET, we did not have the opportunities and technologies that are available now to choose our career or higher studies. Be it guidance, orientation, or skill enhancement programs, or information systems, even availability of computers or modern gadgets. In spite of the limitations, we were happy and contented with whatever we had to complete our course and excel in our career. And nevertheless, I feel nostalgic about my days at the college and sometimes wish I could go back to that time, which I know is quite impossible. My engineering course in CET that was during 1974 to 78 is one of the best things that happened in my life on both professional and personal fronts. It has inculcated in me a lot of intra and interpersonal skills, which helped me a lot in my professional career and growth thereafter. All my teachers were so outstanding, and I'm really indebted to them for their invaluable teachings and blessings, which I strongly believe that has paved my way to as a successful engineer. You won't believe, during that time, during my tenure in the college, we had an outstanding bunch of professors and faculty members, which even IIT didn't have many of the times. All were eminent professors, all of what I call excellent caliber in guiding us and teaching us, be it soil mechanics or geotechnical engineering or foundations or structures or surveying and things like that. So really those teachings have really helped me to reach this point in my career. It was during my tenure in CET that the first open house and CETEX exhibition was held. I don't know how many of you remember that. That was in 1977. The structural design of the planetarium, which you can see there, was my project. And without computers, we had a computer at the University Computing Center that was IBM 1620. So the structural design was carried out. We didn't have any computers in CET. So we used to go to the University Computing Center where the one punching system occupies one complete room, which was 10 feet in length. So we used that computers to punch our cards and get our results. And that is how we did the structural design for the planetarium, which you see. And we were all involved in the masonry works of the planetarium and even the structural erection part and even installation of the cameras inside. And our professor, Professor Jayakumar, who passed away, was instrumental in setting up the planetarium at that point. Now, a little bit a bit of my career path. After my engineering degree in 1978, I took up a job as civil cum structural engineer in an engineering at a firm based out of Cochin. And I was involved in the design and construction of steel buildings and structures. And they posted me in the design office at Cochin and later at various sites, doing tall structures and things like that. And the turning point of my career happened when I joined the Kerala Harbour Engine Department as assistant engineer. That was in 1981, where I developed a passion for working in the maritime sector. I was given the responsibility to design small ports and harbors. And thereafter, because of my passion to continue in the maritime sector, I pursued my MTech pursued the MTech course at IIT Madras in Ocean Engineering. And thereafter, because of that qualification, I got the opportunity to join the wave energy group of IIT Madras, which was involved in the conceptualization and installation of India's pilot wave power plant off Vizhinjam coast. That was a successful one at that point of time. At that point of time, India, Japan, and Norway were the pioneers in wave energy. So we installed a 150 kilowatt plant. Right from the scratch, I was involved in the project. And later, simultaneously, I acquired a PhD in ocean engineering with a specialization in wave energy. And with this, later I joined one of the ports in Malaysia, which is Westport, Malaysia, and which is one of the largest transshipment terminals in Asia, where I gained exposure at the international level in planning and design of container terminals and bulk terminals. After my return from Malaysia, I was given the task, or rather I took up the assignment as to conceptualize and design the upcoming Vizhinjam International Seaport, and which the animation you saw now. And in 2007, I left Vizhinjam International Seaport to take up an assignment as the CEO of Pondicherry Port, and I relinquished in 2016 to come back. And the present government requested me, or in fact asked me to take up again as the CEO, Managing Director and CEO, which is my second term in fact now. And I enjoy being a civil engineer in the port sector now. Therefore, my dear students, if you have the passion, there are several career options in civil engineering which can offer great potential, professional as well as personal growth, besides very good job satisfaction to excel yourselves. Only thing is you have to choose wisely depending upon your interest and passion. But unfortunately or unfortunately, a lot of our civil engineering graduates tend to opt a career in IT or IT-related services due to several reasons, like attractive salaries, comfortable working environment, opportunities for travel and postings abroad. So therefore, as a result, the infrastructure sector finds it difficult to get or retain good talents, which is a serious concern or problem concerning the construction industry now. While a degree course in civil engineering provides you with a basic theoretical and practical knowledge, finding the right career in any field of interest may be difficult, especially for those who are confused or uncertain about their future plans. However, if proper guidance and information are provided on time on the subjects concerned, and the processes involved in the design and construction, then the civil engineering graduates can be geared up to meet the requirements and challenges to take up any challenges in the booming construction industry. So here is the need for such a civil engineering finishing program, which is the initiative of the Civil Engineering Department and the CETAA alumni. Hope the proposed finishing program would provide the civil engineering students good insight about the field concerned before opting it for a career in the rapidly emerging global market. I understand that the program entails several sessions covering a wide range of infrastructure projects, buildings to roads, canals, bridges, tunnels, railways, airports, ports, solid waste management, and so on, including the planning and design, preparation of project proposals, construction management, best industry practices, soft skills, and many more. I congratulate the CETAA alumni and Civil Engineering Department once again for commencing such a program for the students. I wish the program all the very best for its great success and hope the students will make use of the sessions effectively and to choose their career options or specialization without any confusion or ambiguity. My sincere thanks in advance to all the speakers for the various sessions, especially Mr. Deepak and Mr. Sreekanth APV, who is the Executive Director of Arcadis Asia, who will be talking next, I believe, to address the students in their MHSRBC schedules. With these few words, I declare the Civil Engineering Finishing Program as formally inaugurated. Wish all the students a bright future, dazzling career ahead. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable words and boosting our confidence in the sector by sharing with us your accomplishments. You are truly an inspiration to us, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, the time has come for the real official inauguration of this civil engineering finishing program by the logo launch. For that, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Dr. Jayakumar, sir, to do the honors. Since this is a virtual logo launch, a video of the logo will be played. Sir, could you please announce that the logo has been launched?
Okay, I declare that the logo has been launched for the Civil Engineering Finishing Program. I wish all the very best and all the success for the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. This logo was designed by Ashwant of S5C2.
Special thanks to him, please.
Next, I would like to call upon Amrita. Over to you, Amrita.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Sreekanth APV to the first session of CEFP. Mr. Sreekanth is an executive director of Arcadis and heads its infrastructure business in Singapore. After graduating from CET in 1992, he started his career with the National Dairy Development Board as a project manager for India's largest dairy plant at Amul. As a recipient of an international research scholarship, he went on to complete his post-graduation in NUS Singapore. In a career spanning 20 plus years, he has held international leadership positions in leading engineering consultancies such as CPG Corporation and Worley Parsons. Mr. Sreekanth specialized in the engineering management of large projects covering resource, transport, industrial and urban infrastructure. He has held project leadership positions for such projects in Singapore, India, Middle East and Australia. He aspires to play a leading role in improving quality of life in Asia by creating sustainable and digitally enabled infrastructure. And if you have any relevant questions to ask him, you can put that down in the chat box. Once again, I invite you, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Of course, sir.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to all of you from here in Singapore. And thank you for the kind introduction. Dr. Gigi, Dr. Mini, Dr. Jayashree, Dr. Jayakumar, the members of the finishing program guidance team, and dear students, it's an absolute pleasure to be here to talk to you, and a great honor to talk after Dr. Jayakumar, who has been a great inspiration for engineers of my generation. So thank you, sir, for that great introduction and launch of this program. Last year, I was in CET to give a talk to the students. I travel across and wherever I go, I try to talk to students because I believe that's one way of me giving back to the society. So I was in civil engineering, and now to see the drive from the principal, the head of the department, and the faculty, I must say that these students are quite lucky to have gurus like you that who are thinking about the future of the students and making these contributions at that point when the students are making their first step in your career. So when I made my first step in my career from Kerala, I didn't know that life is going to take me in this journey. People, I mean, like what Dr. Jayakumar said, people of our generation saw an immense change happen in every facet of our life. There was one computer in the university center. That's what he said. When I graduated, there was a couple of computers in the engineering college department itself, but we never used it. We had no clue that it's going to play such an important part in our life, in our professional lives. So when I was asked to give this overview of the industry, I thought that one of the areas where I should maybe spend some time is to maybe give you some flavor of how the future is going to be. And I think it is important for you to understand so that you get an idea of the journey that you're going to make, and maybe it will help you make some right decisions on what you choose in that journey. So let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So so engineering the future, that's what I captioned it. And there are three areas that I'll cover. One is emerging trends, then the opportunities in the next decade that could come your way, and then Q&A sessions. Okay, so when I thought of penning down this emerging global trends, I thought that maybe the best way is to look at the world in 2050. So that, maybe sort of, I started my professional journey 30 years back, and this class of 2021 in 30 years would be some, in 2050, and what would the world look like then? Okay, so that's where maybe I would like to start. So the global population would be around 9 billion at that time, from today's 7 billion. And our GDP would be from 120 trillion, it would go to 400 trillion. This is a huge growth. Okay, you can see that while population is increasing by 2 billion, the GDP is almost going 3.5 times more. This would require immense amount of energy, sanitation, housing, transport. You talk about, and it is going to be a huge scale up. And to achieve that scaling, the core of it would be a very successful engineering capacity and capability, okay? And civil engineering as well. So you're looking into an era of unprecedented global growth, where as young professionals, you should have good, successful career chasing your dreams. But there are some challenges that are coming our way. Okay, we are noticing climatic changes, and there is adaptation required for us to. Sorry, can I ask everyone to go on mute? I can hear a dog barking. Thank you. So, one of the challenges that we are going to face, or you are going to face in your career as engineering professionals, is climatic adaptation from global warming. By 2050, there is estimated that this sea level would rise by 30 centimeters. If you think that this is science fiction, you can look at the map that is in the screen now. That shows the Webrand Kayal area of Kerala, and the area of Kerala that would be submerged in just that locality. All right. So across the world, we think that around 300 million people would be impacted. So this is not just about people getting relocated. Most of our economic activity happen around water bodies, and a huge amount of these economic activities would be impacted. So in forward-thinking areas like for Singapore, or in Manhattan, or in areas of Netherlands, engineers are already working on programs to protect the economic centers from rising of sea levels. Okay. The other trend that we see is new and smart mobility. So we all, in the last 100 years, we lived in the era of hydrocarbon-driven, fuel-driven vehicles. Okay, but now we see the shoots of autonomous, connected, and intelligent systems and vehicles coming across the world. If you go to National University of Singapore, you will find that the internal buses in the National University of Singapore is currently driverless autonomous vehicles. Okay, so today travel planning is available here in Singapore, where you could actually book a bus seat, and the app would give you an alarm when you need to leave your home, that you can walk down and take a bus. So digitally enabled technology is now creating new ways of transport. There is going to be in your professional career, you're going to see the reliance on fossil fuels go down. You will find that electric, hydrogen, and other alternative propulsions are going to be in place. It will require new infrastructure. Okay, it is going to be a different kind of infrastructure to what hydrocarbons fuels were. So this will create new kinds of, it will require new kinds of competencies, knowledge to design the infrastructure for that. And there will be new forms of mobility. There will be, for example, in advanced economies, we are seeing a lot of use of electrical scooters. So electrical motors, there is no limitation to size. You can have very small ones to reasonably big ones that you can put in different forms of mobility devices. So this will require new forms of infrastructure designs. It will require roads maybe being used for new kinds of mobility devices. There could be personalized containment devices that could, mobility devices that comes in. And if you think that any of this is again science fiction, it is not. Okay, these are the trends that you are going to live in your career. Now, the last one is digital transformation of construction. So if you look at civil engineering, one of the nature of our industry in the past 100 over years was that we were never a frontier science. We did not see huge transformation in our industry. Okay, one of my professors used to say that we would do research for 20 years and then conclude that the partial safety factor for concrete can be changed from 1.5 to 1.15. That was the scale of research and development required before you make a change in our industry, but that is going to change. Digital technology, you are going to be the generation that is going to live through tremendous digital change in civil engineering and construction. I have a separate slide for that. I will deliberate it more there. So what are the near-term trends? It is easy to talk. maybe looking into the crystal ball is one thing, but when you look into the near-term trends, this is what some things that you could keep in note. See, globally, my generation, we rode the wave of globalization. It took almost the entire alumni of CET in different branches to different parts of the world, okay, for many years. But we think that this trend could reduce or even come to an end. We see increasing nationalism popping up across the world. We see immigration control tightening across the world. For me, as a young graduate, it was possible to come to Singapore and study here and find a job here. But that is not the case with young graduates now. Recently, I was talking to a CET graduate in Singapore. He graduated in June last year and is struggling to find a job here. He did his post-graduation in National University of Singapore. So things are changing, okay? But what it means also is that if you can't go to other places, it is possible that work could come to you. So for instance, Arcadis has 1,000 people in India. We don't design anything for India. Those 1,000 people design for projects across the world. The high-speed rail in London is designed in our Mumbai office. The MTR stations and tunnels for Hong Kong are designed in our Bangalore office. Okay, the deep tunnel sewage system in Singapore is designed again in our Bangalore office. Okay, so what India is a great place for international companies to start global engineering centers where they could send their work and get this done. Okay, so these are some of the immediate near-term trends. In India, what we see is that there is going to be increasing competition between state for infrastructure investments. Okay, this is something for people from Kerala to note, because Kerala could be unfavorably placed before infrastructure investments because we are small size. The entire investment in India, only 3 or 4% fairly would come to Kerala. So this is something that we got to keep in mind, which means that the ambitious people amongst you would have to travel to other places in India maybe to look for work. And that requires a different kind of skill set than what is required to live in Trivandrum. Construction, like what Dr. Jayakumar said, is the fastest growing industry in India. It will be the largest employer by 2025. Okay, but it is also the second lowest in productivity after agriculture. So if you look at the productivity in construction sector, like I was talking to some of the leading contractors and developers in India about digital technology, and they told me that if they could increase their productivity, their labor productivity by 10%, that would far outweigh any other investment they would do in digital technology and design. Okay, so in terms of the numbers, India would need immense number of civil engineers, and there is not enough production. There is also another problem. I was talking to Dr. Sridhar and I asked him what is his biggest problem. He told me that the biggest problem is finding the right people. He told me that in his estimate, only 8% of India's graduates are employable. I mean, civil engineering or engineering graduates are employable. Another 12% could be employed by training. So you're talking about just 20% being employable and the remaining 80% not even employable at one level or two levels down. So that's the challenge the industry face and the opportunity good students like you have. Okay. And in Kerala, it is possible that there would be a reduction in the remittance that comes into Kerala, which has been a great driver for us to be maybe the most developed part of India today. But it is possible that there will be increase in production in Kerala and there will be investments from government. The offshoring of work that could happen because of global and national trend could come into Kerala, because Kerala has some great software technoparks where these kind of industries could be located. I also think that there is a lot of pressure that in the next 30 years Kerala would face because of climatic adaptation. A lot of resilience engineering will have to be done for us to keep the most beautiful place in the God's own country is safe from climatic change. There is going to be also maybe a trend towards investing more in operations and maintenance rather than in building more, because Kerala might find it's hard to get money to build more. So it could have to maintain its infrastructure, maybe optimize it through different means, through maybe digital means or other ways, optimize the current assets. So these are some of the near-term trends that you could keep in your mind while you're planning your career. So when we look at the digital transformation of construction, okay, so it's a huge, wide area. So there has been this future of digital transformation map that was made by some of the thinkers, and they've identified 10 areas. So again, this is for your knowledge and for you to measure. Have you heard about these things? If you have not, okay, be prepared for a journey in your life that these are going to be the areas that civil engineering is going to operate more. Okay. First is prefabrication and modular construction. Okay, which means that there will be mass production of building components, where we are now seeing application of blockchain technologies, automation, 3D printing, advanced building materials. That's again where 3D printing is coming in. High strength materials are coming in. Additive manufacturing. Autonomous construction is an area where we find huge investment happening now. One of the leading Japanese contractors have invested $100 million in Singapore to start a research center to invest in autonomous tunneling machines. So these machines would operate by themselves. So once once these machines become autonomous in construction, you don't need construction labor. Augmented reality and visualization. So currently it is possible, you have in your phones these apps that gives you different faces in your photo real time. Well, that augmented reality and visualization is currently being widely used in our industry for utilities, for site inspections. That would continue to develop. Okay. Big data and predictive analytics. Yesterday, I was listening to a talk given by some of our experts to the CEO of the Land Transport Authority in Singapore. So these were experts from Europe. So they were talking about how they use data and predictive analysis to reduce the maintenance cost of London Underground metro system by 50%. At the same time, increasing reliability to 99.9%. Okay, so it was simply by adaptation of big data and predictive analytics. Okay. Cloud and real-time collaboration. Now, that's exactly what we are all doing today. We are talking to each other, we are sharing in real time. And this is happening in all our projects. As I told you, some of our projects, we have the front-end members sitting here in Singapore and the back-end members sitting in India, in Manila, in Romania. These are the 3 countries that we have invested our engineering. 3D scanning and photogrammetry. See, today, there is technology available that you could scan and convert physical objects into models, okay, intelligent models. For instance, if you put a camera on a train and run the train through a tunnel, today there is technology available that can actually scan in maybe 3 wavelengths, optical, infrared, ultraviolet, and you could create a model that overlapping all this will tell you where are the upcoming areas of cracks, failures that you could do a intervention to prevent any disruption to services. And finally, building information modeling. So building information modeling is the backbone of this whole digital transformation that is going to happen. Okay. So these are 10 areas that you would be continuously hearing if you are on the forefront of civil engineering in your career. Okay, now let's quickly look at asset lifecycle and the skills associated with this. I would strongly recommend that this is one picture that you carry with you in your life, okay? At least for the time being until digital disruption changes this picture. So this picture sort of describes to you, the length of each segment shows you the volume of business. The depth shows the profit, okay? So it tells you that if your business is around feasibility studies, that has the least volume but the most profit. It's the most profitable business. Okay. Design and engineering, generally the volume is lesser than the later two parts of asset life cycle, but the profits are better than the other two. Project management and supervision, great volumes, but profits are the least. Okay, and finally maintenance, upgrading, operational decommissioning. These have great volumes because there's a lot of build assets. But again, profits depends. It's a big variable component. It depends upon the commitment of asset owners to maintain and upgrade. Okay, so this is something interesting that you can keep in your mind. What this means for you is that we talked about people leaving the industry. One of the issue is that the industry sometimes doesn't generate enough money that employers can invest in creating better quality for their employers. In IT industry and all, sometimes we find that this is a bit more possible than the construction industry. But by productivity improvement, by digital application, we would expect that in your generation, this could change. This situation will change. And if I could give you an example, I met this bunch of young people in our Bangalore office who showed me a program that they have written, which could actually, it's a parametric design program. If you feed in the parameters, it will design the beam alignment in around, sorry, the bridge alignment around 20-30 spans in maybe 5-6 minutes, and it will create the BIM model in maybe half an hour. So that's huge productivity improvement compared to somebody doing it, maybe taking maybe 5-6 months to do it. So this is how productivity improvement can result in better earnings for the businesses, which could translate to better rewards for the employees in the industry. So I thought that I should also put some thoughts about the skills that would be useful when you transfer this. One is, of course, technical skills. Because we are technical people, we bring the value of our technical knowledge. So whether it be design and engineering, project management, environmental and sustainability, any of these fields, I have not split it into transportation or structural or geotechnical because all that falls into any of this. Okay. So technical skills are very important. So in technical skills, it is important that you have the knowledge, you be thorough in it, you have the right certifications, you have a continuous development program where you continue to learn the new technologies, the new tools that are coming in. So that technical skills are very important. I also think that in the next 30 years, digital skills are going to be extremely important. Not just digital literacy, it is digital skills. So if you know the acronym of BIM, VDC, IDD, you have at least made a good start. But if you don't know that, I strongly urge you to start looking at the digital dimension of our business. I find that continuously international businesses and our businesses in India are looking at analytics and scripting skills. Okay. For instance, we actually employ a lot of data analytics enabled engineers in India for our global businesses. Okay. Then it's also about ecosystem knowledge. Ecosystem knowledge means that now it is not about knowing one or two software. It is maybe knowing a huge ecosystem of how do you use different tools to create certain results for your business. Last but not least, after 30 years, when I look at the people who have traversed the industry and come to the top, if I could choose one skill that have kept them apart, I think it is the soft skills. Okay, it doesn't mean that soft skills is going to help you travel across this whole of your career. Okay, you need a very strong technical core.
It's the first day of that entrance exam for Lithuania.
So that was a bad example of soft skills. All right. So so in soft skills, the verbal and written communication is very important because you need to you are going to be living in a very connected multicultural working environment. So it's very important that you need to have verbal and written communication skills. For instance, if you think that you are going to work in India, that most of your career is going to be built in projects across India outside of Kerala, you need to have reasonably good verbal skills in Hindi. That's what I'll recommend. Okay. The second is adaptability. You need to, you're going to live in a world that is going to continuously change. You may need to move from different segments. You may need to move from different skill sets. You may need to adapt to new technologies. Earlier, these were all things that we would say software engineers have to do, but this is now going to come into our field. And finally, commercial acumen. At the end of the day, you should know how to make money from your profession. Okay, people who are able to do that, that have the commercial acumen to generate sustainable businesses. So it is not about it is not about a desire to make profits. It is about having sustainable models. Sustainability means, it also means commercial sustainability, because otherwise it wouldn't run for long. Okay. So these are some of the skills that I think the next generation of smart engineers would require. So what are the major opportunities coming up in the next 5 years? Global. So I told you that India is a great market for engineering and design centers for global businesses. Okay. So global businesses, for instance, Arcadis has 1,000 people in India. AECOM has, I think, maybe around 2,000 people in India. Jacobs has close to 1,500. COVI has, I think, 1,000. Almost every engineering company in the world has engineering centers in India, because India can produce good, highly skilled engineers. So these skills, infrastructure skills, are very important. Digital skills are extremely important, because you're going to work on international projects that are run in digital formats. Communication skills, because you're going to talk to remote teams, it's important. And then competency in international codes are important. So not that you got to pick it up before you go to an interview, but it is good for you to have, to demonstrate that you have the ability to negotiate that learning curve. Okay. So if you're doing a final year project, maybe it is good to do a bit of your, to see how, compare it against maybe the Euro code and maybe the American code, two major codes. It will give you when you go for an interview, give you an exposure that, look, you have done something. I think the second skill that I would also put up for your attention is climatic adaptation skills. Currently, the advanced economies have started looking at these skills. For instance, in Singapore, currently a consultancy contract has been called, which could go to the value of around $50 million. $50 million is what, 250 crores maybe? Okay, that's the kind of value of the engineering fees that is being allocated to study the climatic adaptation measures required for one part of Singapore. So the skills are hydrodynamic modeling, drainage engineering, coastal and offshore engineering, and general civil engineering capabilities. This is what climatic adaptation skills should require. I told you about the mobility trend. Okay, so a disruption is going to happen in mobility. Okay, it could happen. It is unlikely to happen through government. Very likely, it will happen through entrepreneurs. Okay, so it could impose transport planning, modeling, electrical vehicle or an autonomous vehicle capabilities. Logistics could change. So these are again global skills that global markets would require, and digital and general skills. So in my generation, it was possible for a civil engineer without any special skills to go out and maybe make a career in the global arena. But I now suspect that that phase is over. Okay, now if you want to go out global, you would require specialist skills. Okay, either you pick up it here or pick it up in your masters that is done in reputable places or in your practice. But I think that the general engineering skills would go to engineering centers in countries like India, and the specialist skills would remain in the global market. And in India, see, India is poised to become the second largest economy in the world. By 2030, we will be there, all right, which will require a substantial rescaling of our infrastructure. If you look at China, people may not realize this, the biggest driver of China's growth was infrastructure. It was not overseas investments. It was actually infrastructure. China grew by building infrastructure. It created such a massive internal economy. It created employment. It created capabilities that today China is actually exporting to other countries. Chinese contractors, if you take the top 10 contractors, 4 of them are Chinese. And those 4 of them are maybe 10 times bigger than the biggest Japanese or European contractors. Okay. So whether India would be able to replicate that scale, it would be fantastic. None of you would have to be worried about a career. Okay. So around 35,000 kilometers of high-speed corridors, major highways, around 520 ports to be enhanced. India has solid plans of building another 100 new airports or enhanced airports because we want to shift our pattern of travel more towards air, rather than spending to enhance road assets. India is going to invest heavily in high-speed rail. I was fortunate to be part of the first high-speed rail project in India. Arcadis had 100 people working in this project, an extremely professionally run job by the government, and another 4,000 kilometers is coming up. Okay. Urban rail in India has not moved as fast as it could have been, but we think that maybe another 2,000 kilometers is coming in the next decade. Now, utilities, there is huge amount of requirements with the population growth. Our urban centers are supposed to grow a lot. Our utilities are not the best in the world. There is certainly a huge amount of improvements there. I must also stress to you that India is considered as one of the most favorite locations for investments in renewables, okay, renewable energy. There's a lot of scope for environmental engineers there because renewable energy requires a lot of EIA and EMMP studies, and based on which bankable funding studies are bankable funding projects are released. Okay. In housing, India is likely to see a private entrepreneurial drive to create huge amount of low and middle income housing. All major Indian developers are looking at this segment with seriousness. They are talking to people like us to see how they can produce in huge quantities, okay, replicable modular construction, that can be then digitally monitored, traced, okay, maybe using autonomous construction. That's something that India is looking at. There are large industrial corridors being developed. Current estimate is around 20,000 kilometers. The other big area where we see private investment interest is logistics. Okay, and currently with the changes in the agricultural bill, the agricultural produce could come out of the government warehouse system into private warehouse systems, and that would create huge amount of transport logistic requirements. Okay. India is again going to be a big target for data centers. Okay. Currently, there is a regulation in India and in many other countries that data for people and businesses of a country has to be kept in that particular country. It cannot be kept somewhere else. So now for supporting our 1 billion population, Amazon, Google, all these big data center companies would have to build data centers in our own country. Okay. Similarly, IT parks. And then there is this big topic about urban rejuvenation and smart cities. India's smart city program has been a big disappointment. That would be an understatement. Okay. We have, if you look at a typical budget that came out for smart cities, it was a few crores, maybe 2 crores, 5 crores. That's not what smart cities are. Smart cities create, digital backbone on which data is provided by the government, and then private entrepreneurs monetize it. That's how smart cities work. Okay, but if you go to any city in India, or for that matter in the developing world, you will see that the challenges the population face are civil engineering in nature, be it traffic, be it buildings, be it space, be it quality of life, be it pollution, be it water, wastewater. You mention it, you will find that most of these things are civil engineering associated. And if India has an aspiration to come up and change our cities to the standard of what China has done, what some of the other developing countries have done, then there is immense opportunity for engineers. Finally, to Kerala. So Kerala, there is infrastructure development that would continue to happen to support our development of the state. Roads, highways, airports, high-speed rail, urban rail, these are all. But you could see that the scale would be less. Okay, the housing would be Kerala has quite an advanced housing status as of now, maybe one of the best in the country, and even best in the developing world. So what we could see is migration. You could see that people moving from low-income housing to middle-income housing, that kind of changes could happen. But there could be a lot of investments in asset management and operation and maintenance. I was seeing a video that the Public Works Department of Kerala has actually invested in a good program this time to do a more scientific approach to asset management of bridges. Okay. Waste management, there was a problem some years ago. We are now managing it through a certain very interesting green initiative. But I think a more comprehensive approaches and engineering technology would be required. Climatic adaptation is going to impact us very severely. We had 2 floods, which people think could be mismanagement of dams and water, but that is not the case. Across the world, climate is changing. We are having, the design curve for rainfall intensity in Singapore was revised in 2014 because of the changes in rainfall patterns. It's happening across the world. Okay. We think that Kerala, the other opportunities could be around the infrastructure that is required to support agribusiness, which could be warehousing, transportation infrastructure. And finally, then there is also sustainability and environmental sciences, because Kerala is one place in India where industrial development has not happened. And the good side of it is that we are not seriously polluted. A morning in Bombay or Delhi is very different from a morning in Trivandrum, where I have a flat in Trivandrum from where I could actually see the peaks of Ponmudi on most of the mornings. If we leave our balcony open, we get these big owls coming in the night, which shows that the night ecosystem in the middle of the city is still intact. So I think that Kerala would still continue to invest to keep that in place. So there will be demand for environmental engineers and scientists. So that has been maybe a quick overview for me of the future of and what is near term. I hope that it was of use for you, but even at least as an eye opener. Let me stop sharing. All right, so that was what I wanted to talk to you, and happy to take any questions that you may have.
Some questions have been put down in the chat box.
Can you read out the questions?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the wonderful session. We have some questions over the chat box, and we have sorted some relevant questions. I'll fire the first question to you, sir. Most of our students have asked about a career after the BTech. What skills can balance the case of a fresher getting directly to a challenging civil industry job and an experienced guy having not more than 3 to 4 years of experience in the present world with the updated technologies. So they are asking about how can they maintain a balance between a fresher and an experienced guy with 3 to 4 years experience with the updated technologies.
Sorry, I'm trying to understand the question. What skills balance the case of a fresher? So you're asking that what skills a fresher would require to get to a challenging civil engineering industry job, is it? Is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And they will be facing experienced people from the field itself, right? So
how would they compete against them, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, how can they better themselves to compete against them, experienced people?
Okay, I think it would depend on what the organization is looking for. Generally, organizations would prefer to take people with experience because then they don't have to invest in creating the competency in the employees for doing the job. Okay, and so if the freshers have competencies that can be comparable, okay, and it can be reasonably established that those competencies can be comparable to what a 3 to 4 year of experience guy has, then maybe you have a chance.
Another question was about how currently, if someone is studying civil engineering course, and what kind of courses they should take up as extra so that they can better adapt to the industries, present relevant industries.
I think currently our curriculum does not have a lot of digital content. So if you are aiming for a career that could have digital content, then I would strongly recommend you to pick up those skills. I think your generation would have it. You know, they would have to face this, face the digital transformation of construction industry. So it will be good to pick up digital skills. Okay. The other skills is, I'm assuming that the technical skills that are required for you to do your job as an engineer, as a fresh engineer, you would get from your college. Okay, that's an assumption that I'm making. Other than that, what is not covered in the, I think one is digital skills. The other is certainly soft skills. Okay, I go across different places, and one of the feedback that I gave to your faculty was that I found that in general, the ability for our students in Kerala to communicate has become less and less competitive compared to rest of India. You know, when you compare, the top colleges, if I compare RSC Suratkal, or if I compare BITS Goa, or if I compare that with CET Trivandrum, the student quality is almost the same, but the ability to articulate, to present is different. So in getting into landing into your first job, it really matters, and across your career also it matters. So that is soft skills is something that I would certainly recommend even for a professional training.
Thank you, sir. Next one, somebody is talking about space research. Do civil engineers have an opportunity in space research, terraforming?
In what? Sorry, terraforming, is it?
Yeah, terraforming.
What is terraforming?
I think it's mentioned it as space research.
Okay, so I'm a space buff. I follow space from childhood. The development in. So there are great structures being built in space. So if you look at the International Space Station, it cost close to, I think, $100 billion. Okay, and it created the overall area of the overall size of the International Space Station is that of a football stadium. That sort of tells you the volume and specialty associated with it. So it is not going to be a massive employment opportunity, but for specialists who have, I know civil engineering graduates from CET who were involved in the design of some of our spacecrafts in VSSC and even with DRDO, designing our missiles, designing the light combat aircraft. the wings of the light. I remember one of the early projects in that I saw one of my cousins from CET work was on the FEM analysis for the wings for LC. So it is possible that there are opportunities there, but they are again specialist opportunities.
Keeping with that digital transformations and all, how would mainly we'll be focusing on structural engineering when we talk about the digital softwares and all. BIM modeling and everything is related with structural engineering itself. For other branches like environmental and transportation, what are the fields that they can go into regarding the digital team?
Okay, so I want to, if I have created an impression that digital is for structural engineering, I have to correct that substantially. It is not about structural engineering. Okay. See, digital, let me give you an example of how digital affects our business. Okay. So suppose you are a developer and you have got 10 projects. Okay. And you have the BIM model of these 10 projects. Okay. So from this BIM model, you can generate the concrete volume for your 10 projects. Okay. And if you could link it to the schedule of these 10 projects across the timeline of these 10 different projects, you can now project the concrete quantity that you're going to need, which you can project then the amount of the volume of cement that you need. And with that information, if you sit across a cement supplier and negotiate a deal, you're going to get maybe 30% better cost on cement. So this is not about structural engineering. This is about how you use digital information to create better results. So I give you one very commercial information. The other information is that suppose you put sensors on vehicles, okay? And if you could accumulate that data and provide it to end users, for instance, I want to travel from point A to point B, and if I'm able to do that, if I a program is going, or an app is going to do it for me, can plan when I need to leave my home, where do I need to get down, give me an alarm for that. I get down there, take the next bus that comes. See, the backbone of this is digital transportation information. It is provided by the Department of Transport in all major cities. This is the basis of a smart city. So this is again one example of how digital. Now comes to environment. Okay. See, when we are doing the high-speed rail in India, okay, the entire environmental social impact of that is now captured in a GIS model. So if a decision making sitting in Delhi or in the Japanese aid agency in Tokyo want to click on the GIS model to find out the details of a particular building in a particular village between Bombay and Ahmedabad, that information is available to them. Okay, they want to overlay this GIS model on top of a spatial BIM model and generate population intensities in graphical format. They can do that. Based on that, they can take decisions. So it is not about structural engineering. This is where I'm telling you that digital technology is going to change the way that civil engineering is going to operate. Do I make sense?
Yes, sir, of course. We haven't thought in that way, actually. That's right.
Precisely. This is where I want, when you are making your first step into your career, I want to tell you that this is the world you are going to step into. You may not see this in Trivandrum now. Okay, but if you go into Technopark, I'm sure that there are companies that are now operating BIM for overseas markets. I think Deepak might know better.
Thank you, sir. Next, somebody is talking about augmented reality. How augmented reality has changed the civil engineering sector?
Okay, I wouldn't say that it has changed, but it is again up to people like you how you want to use it to change the industry. Okay, but let me give you some examples. Okay, so for instance, today it is possible that you can stand with a laptop in front of, let's say, a column in a building, and then you point your laptop, with the iPad, and you point your iPad at a column. Augmented reality then can show you the rebars that are in the BIM model together with your photo image, your video image. Okay, so you could see utility. You could look at utilities. How does the physical image relates to the BIM model or some other information, so GIS information. Okay. This is where augmented reality comes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, a bit more recent time issue. What do you think post-COVID development and possible changes in this industry would be?
So definitely post-COVID is going to change urban transport patterns. Okay, in cities like Singapore, we are thinking that the spine of the transport network is going to be less loaded, and there is going to be more transport patterns going to happen around the first mile and the last mile. So more transport infrastructure would be required around that space. And we are also seeing that those changes in transport infrastructure is going to be a different qualitative level, because people are going to now merge entertainment, leisure with transport, because it is around their house or around their vicinity that they're going to travel more. So this is one change that we see. The other change that we see is that global, the hub and spoke system of air travel is going to change. Now, COVID has taught that it is not necessary for people to travel to to do business. I was just joking with some of my friends in Trivandrum that last year I landed in Trivandrum 28 times in the last 1 year. Okay, and this year I have not been there, but still life goes on. You know, I used to look after our Indian business last year or till middle of this year, and I used to travel every month to India to supervise the business, but now no more. It is not it. This has taught us that it doesn't have to change. The third factor is that around houses now. It means that the occupancy of houses is going to increase, the occupancy time. Utilities are going, so utility loads are going to increase. So maybe there could be increase in utility frameworks and things like that. But one thing we also notice is that Dr. Jayakumar mentioned that we have a substantial business in China, and we notice that China has returned to pre-COVID levels. Most of the indicators are at around maybe 85 to 90% of pre-COVID. So it is also possible that everything could bounce back, except for maybe long distance travel.
Thank you, sir. A relevant question, I think, has been fired now. Kerala is facing calamities like flood, landslide, etc. frequently in these years, and it may further become worsen in the future. So whether any changes in our construction industry can reduce the impact of such kind of disasters?
Okay. There is a lot of discussions about sustainable development, and I must admit that I am not an expert in that to talk about. But what I see, one of the key issues of climatic adaptation, climatic change is sea level rise. Okay, so when sea level rises, there is going to be inundation, and that inundation is going to change drainage patterns of existing rivers. It is going to flood areas. It is going to impact economic activity and population distribution. So the approach that is being currently taken is, and the other thing is rainfall intensity. Yeah? Rainfall intensity is changing. Okay, you're getting more severe storms in shorter durations across the world. Okay. So the approach that we see happening, taken for major urban centers like Singapore, Hong Kong, Manhattan. So Arcadis is currently doing around 20 cities. You know, we are conducting these studies. We're doing a bit for Chennai as well. The methodology that we see is that there are large scale hydrodynamic models of the oceans, which maybe Dr. Jayakumar would be the best person to talk about, which could model how wave, tide patterns could change. So you could actually simulate those changes. Then there are rainfall models. Then there are land topographical models. So combining all this, a scenario assessment is done. You see, what would be your highest water rise due to due to global warming. What happens if it combines with the most intense rain that you expect? If you take it over 10 years, 50 years, 100 years horizon, how would things change? Then you could do a cost benefit analysis of, what are the protection you want to put in, how much it will cost, when would the benefit comes, do we need to invest now? So it is a very complex but digitally enabled approach that are leading these developed areas of the world to take decisions on what they need to invest. Netherlands is an area where they have considered this 40 years or 50 years ago because they were naturally below sea level. So they developed groundbreaking technology and processes that helps them with that. Okay. In terms of how construction, what changes construction technology could change, I think it could be mostly around urban planning, especially whether there is enough way for us to discharge, peak rainfall water. For instance, in many cities, what they're doing is that they're creating temporary containment areas. So whether we could create using our natural ponds, pools, or artificial ones, create temporary retentions that could be. You could see that every major city in the world is facing flooding every year. Chennai, Mumbai, every city for that factor, except maybe some of the well-planned cities like Singapore or London, maybe New York. Some of these cities are doing better than the rest. But even in Singapore, we are getting floods. So I think it is in urban planning, in this resilience approaches that I think civil engineers could make a huge impact.
Regarding after BTech, there is a common question that everyone asks: what to do after BTech? Whether you should join a MTech, MBA, or should we try for a job? It has been asked quite by 2 or 3 persons at least.
Okay, I think there is no right or wrong answer for it. Let me share my thoughts. I think if you're going into an industry where the general skills are of demand, I think you may not need an MTech. But if you're looking into a specialization, you will need an MTech. Generally in India, when clients call for contracts, I have not seen them ask for, the candidate should have an MTech. But when we pitch to clients, we tell them that 60% of our workforce is MTech. So there is a value. Okay. I find that in areas of engineering designs where there is technical speciality required, there is a preference for MTech. Okay, MBA, I can only tell you my personal story. I took my MBA when I was 40 years old. Okay, it was a wonderful experience for me because I knew that my core would be engineering and I required more skills around it for me to grow further, and MBA just gave me that. It gave me a belt around my waist with a lot of tools that I could take and use as and when the situation arose. So it gave me a lot of, it made me understand the commercial side of the business better. But I took it after being in the industry for maybe, around 15 years. And that timing, I think, is important. It will be, to me, my recommendation would be that after you have certain experience, you take an MBA would be much of an enriching learning experience rather than you take it early. This is just my take. I wouldn't claim that this is the only way to look at it.
I think we only had 10 minutes of Q&A sessions and we are already going.
It's okay. I am happy to answer for another half an hour, not a problem.
Sreekanth sir, hi, I'm Raju Nair from 99 batch.
Hello,
I
sir.
have hi, nice to meet you, sir. I'm also from Dubai. Yeah, so I have a question. I see that procurement is getting worldwide recognition with respect to the construction. And I see that you have not envisaged anything in your presentation in detail, or it is being one of the biggest part of construction. How do you see procurement and supply chain opportunities and challenges for the next 10 years?
So my apologies that I did not specifically brought it out because I had to cover so much. But one of the skill set I put there was project management, and I rather bring procurement under that. Okay. So global supply chain has become global in nature. Even in construction, supply chain has become extremely global. Okay, and at heart of that supply chain is actually China. Okay, so while we think that we can live without China, I think that's not possible. Okay, most of the construction equipment, steel, a lot of construction technology currently arises from China. Procurement as a profession is a very important profession. It brings together both technical and commercial skills because you have to do technical evaluations and you have to do commercial evaluation. It requires a thorough understanding of liabilities because very often that in that role it requires you to understand how the liability works in that particular segment and what are the standard practices. It requires a very thorough understanding of cost, the market price point. So I think, Raju, just for your information, Arcadis is the biggest cost management in this region. Okay, so we have a substantial business, and we add value to it. But I must also say that that is one segment that digitization has impacted seriously. Okay, maybe in 10 years' time, the job of a quantity estimator will be gone. Okay, currently there are tools available that will give you quantities. There are tools available that will give you the entire cost. What matters now is the AI part of the machine learning part of how it changes with different scenarios. That's the part currently the disruptors are working on.
Thank you, sir.
So, what differences have you observed in the way recent civil engineering graduates from Kerala and students from other global institutes like NUS in their approach towards the field?
Okay, I'm thinking a bit hard because I may not know you all very well. I don't know if using my example would be good. When I came out of my college, I came out with a can-do attitude. And when I came to Singapore, I found that that was my competitive advantage. Okay. But maybe if I could take some general terms. Generally, when we grow up in places like India, our risk appetite is high. And when we grow up in places like Singapore, the risk appetite is low. So it is possible that graduates from India are more risk-taking. So they produce more results. They would do things in a more risky and result-oriented manner. So that's the positive side of it. Maybe the negative side of it is that in Singapore, there is a very established system of civil engineering. If you look at the world's #1 university in civil engineering, it's actually NUS, National University of Singapore. Okay, and that is the reason why Singapore is creating world-class infrastructure. So there is a very systematic way of doing engineering, and we find very highly competent engineers now here in the last 20, 30 years. We find a lot of millionaire engineers, which you would never find in India. Okay, you have plenty of millionaire engineers in Singapore because engineering is a profession that is supported by the Professional Engineers Act, and it is a chartered profession. Okay, so students in Singapore get trained in a more professional, structured approach. But I don't think NUS alumni, NUS teachers, professors would call the entire alumni of NUS and arrange a talk like this. So we still have the can-do attitude of our teachers, that needs to be commented.
So one more question. Was asked recently, actually. Despite of acquiring relevant skills for a particular industry, what would be the magnitude by which we would get challenged by the developing artificial intelligence in future?
So, I mean, so your generation is going to be the generation that would start losing opportunities or start losing traditional opportunities because of AI. Okay, so that is why in the skills that I put, you need, I would recommend engineers to have scripting skills because then you can become part of that journey. You can build the skill sets that are required for you to be part of, creating the artificial intelligence framework, because maybe there wouldn't be any choice. Okay, so if you look at the parallels from other industries, if you look at maybe, I think Uber is there in India, right? So if you look at Uber, Uber is a good example of where a group of young people came in and just wiped out an entire industry across the world using digital disruption. Okay, so similar things earlier was difficult in construction industry because there were a lot of technological barriers for people to do that, but now it is changing. With BIM, with the kind of computational power that is available, it is changing. So I think that you will seriously face, for instance, these days, structural software competency is not much appreciated because almost all of that is automated now. Now tunnel designs are getting automated. Okay, design automation, parametric design, generative designs, these algorithms are being developed in full force. Currently, when we interview engineers, we also ask engineers to degree in geotechnical engineering, preferably having Python skills. This is things that currently being asked in the market. So you would be certainly impacted. How? I'm not very sure, but maybe that is where the trends would become meaningful. See, if you aspire for a job in PWD in Kerala, maybe it wouldn't impact you that much as of now, but it would slowly creep in. But if you are working for a global institution in India, these skills would matter. And if you are going to step out in the global arena as a global professional, this is where your game would be played.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable time, and thank you for engaging with us. For our participants, the remaining questions can be clarified during your actual sections. Thank you once again to Sreekanth sir. Thank you.
So thank you. My pleasure to engage in such an active discussion. I just want to also, while concluding, I want to tell you that civil engineering is one profession that is sort of guaranteed job. Okay, anywhere, anytime, there is always need for civil engineers. Okay, that was the case in the past many years. Okay, so I don't think that good students like you would struggle to find it. It is about a matter of time and how you land in high quality companies. That's and to where you belong, matching your quality. That would be the challenge. Okay, so my best wishes to the class of 2021. You are the first batch to come out after COVID disruption. So maybe you are the pioneers to enter into this new phase in human history. And I wish you all the best. And I hope that this short discussion that we had would be useful for you for your entire career journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing so much valuable information and giving us an insight into the future of Kerala, India, and worldwide, and also for answering all our queries. Thank you so much. A Google form has been put down in the chat box, and I request you all to fill it and send in your valuable feedback. Next, I would like to call upon Nivya. Over to you, Nivya.
Good evening, all. I'm here to introduce Mr. Deepak Benny, an alumnus of CET Civil Engineering Batch 2007. He's currently the managing consultant of Tyrannus Consulting Thiruvananthapuram, involved with planning and design of highways and bridges, buildings, and maritime projects. Now,
Hi, friends. Hope I'm audible to you. Very good session we had with Dr. Jayakumar as well as Mr. Sreekanth. First of all, before going into how this program is structured, a few things to all the students that you might have seen that there's a big gap between what we are learning in the campus and what is happening in the industry. So we as part of the alumni as well as the team and the faculty here is trying to bridge that gap and to let you know that these things can be easily achieved. Laying all the foundation that we have currently in the syllabus and to what can be actually achieved by being to the industry. One small thing which I would like to let you know that professional connects with people in the industry is one of the key things that is required. And I'm glad to let you know that both the speakers here today are my mentors. And Dr. Jayakumar himself was my first mentor when I did my graduation from college in 2007. And I had this opportunity to work with Mr. Sreekanth as well in Singapore. So those kind of professional connects actually keeps us engaged in our industry and to know how what's happening beyond our campus days. So let me get into how this program is structured, and we'll learn lots more in the actual sessions that is coming up for you in the next few weeks. Okay, the program overview is structured generally in two parts. You'll be introduced under few theme sessions under buildings, infrastructure and transportation, hydraulics, as well as coastal and maritime. In depth, we'll be covering general aspects about what are the key best practices in the industry in terms of planning and design, how the construction is been done, a bit of operations and maintenance about how these infrastructures are currently being engaged, and the key players globally as well as in India on where we can actually look into for an opportunity. There will be a plethora of general sessions as well as being planned for the session. Next week we'll be having a session. The Friday we'll be having a session as well as next week a session. I'll come to that. And generally you'll be covering aspects such as planning into projects, how public works are conducted in India, a bit of quality surveying and estimation, how contracts are managed, how cost controls are done, introduction to new technologies like VDC, what Sreekanth had mentioned, application of ICT, and generally we'll be taking a session on soft skills for engineers as well. So most of these sessions are planned with people who are actually working in the industry, consultants who are in large companies, and we'll be covering the best practices and approaches done for these kind of projects. Some demo sessions are also planned, and along with site visits within Kerala. Moving forward, the next session is on Friday, this coming Friday on 18th December at 6 p.m. This is also open for all registered participants of BTech and MTech students. Following that, we'll be actually commencing our first batch of CEFP program. The first batch will be for BTech S7 students. There will be subsequent batches as well. The first batch is planned to commence on next Tuesday, on 22nd December at 6 p.m. The participants for the first batch also will be announced during the course of this week. And please remind that the participation for the next week session is also mandatory to enable you the seat in the first batch. Please let our friends know who have missed out today's session that the participation is mandatory, and other batches will be announced later. So that is the general structure of the program, and we'll be communicating with you in the coming week on how the arrangements are being made. Thank you, and wishing you all the best once again for the program, and looking for a successful event to come up. Over to you, host, for taking up the next part of the session.
Thank you so much, sir, for briefing us on the future activities of the finishing program. Next is a vote of thanks. Since Gayatri is having certain technical issues, I'll be taking over. It's an honor for me to deliver this vote of thanks on this memorable occasion on behalf of CETAA and College of Engineering, Trivandrum. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Jayakumar, guest of honor, for sparing time from his busy schedule to grace the occasion. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Sreekanth APV for his wonderful session, which provided us with an insight into the various career options, which would be extremely useful to us, sir. I also convey my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Gigi CV, Principal of College of Engineering, Trivandrum, for his presence and constant support. We are extremely grateful to Jayashree ma'am, Secretary of CETAA, and our prominent alumni for their persistent efforts in making this event a grand success. I would also like to thank Dr. Mini Soman, HOD of the Civil Engineering Department, all our staff advisors and faculty for their continuous support and guidance. I would like to acknowledge the efforts made by Mr. Abhilash Daniel George, faculty of MBA, for making the troll video, 7th semester students Vaishak and Manushankar for the promo video, and 5th semester students Afsal Naseeb and Ashwant for the logo, poster, and logo video respectively. Finally, I would like to thank all my fellow volunteers and all my friends who attended the meeting with utmost interest. Thank you. So now we have come to the end of the inaugural session, and thank you all for joining us, and hoping to see you all on the 18th December, 6 p.m. IST. So we're winding up, and you may all leave now.
Thank you, and good night, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.